want to tell you about a man who understood personal branding before the term became mainstream. Before social media, before YouTube, before LinkedIn, before any of the platforms we are all building on today, this man has already mastered the principles behind all of it. He built his identity around one core message and never moved from it. He dominated every media platform of his era before moving into the next one. He created a visual signature so strong that people recognized it without seeing his face. And when the platform tried to remove him, he took his audience and left. That man is Donald Trump. And I know that name just triggered a very specific reaction in you. Good, because that reaction is itself one of the most important lessons in personal branding we are going to talk about today. Strip out politics, strip out how you feel about him. What is left is a branding operation that most consultants, founders, and thought leaders could learn from. 7 elements, decades in the making, all of it deliberate. Let me walk you through it. Most people assume Trump's fame started with The Apprentice or his presidential run. It did not. Trump understood influence, popularity, and power from a very early age. At the New York Military Academy in his teenage years, Trump was already seeking out leadership roles and public attention. In Michael D. Antonio's book, The Truth About Trump, published in 2015, Trump is quoted saying, "I like to be the center of attention." This is his personality trait. That is a brand strategy that he built his entire life around. As a young adult at the Wharton School, despite already having family wealth, Trump was not content to simply inherit a position. He wanted visibility beyond what the family name would give him. So he did what smart brand builders do. He went where the right people were. Society events, investment circles, Manhattan parties, big fights, major gatherings. He made sure he was in the room, and when entered, he made sure it was felt. Long before social media existed, Trump was mastering the offline game. And this is a lesson that most people who are building personal brands in 2026 completely miss. Social media is not the foundation of the personal brand. It is a broadcast tool for a life that is already being lived at different levels. The biggest personal brands, they are not people who decided to create content. They are people who are doing things worth talking about. And social media is simply where the record lives. If you want to build a brand that carries real weight, it starts offline. The rooms you enter, the events you show up to, the people you put yourself in front of. Your LinkedIn and your YouTube are the documentation of all of that, not the source of it. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, subscribe. Every week I go deep on what the biggest personal brands are doing right and what you can take from it to build your own. So hit the subscribe button. You will not regret it. Trump has won many labels over his lifetime: businessman, builder, real estate mogul, writer, entertainer, wrestler, actor, politician. The list is genuinely long. Well, here is the thing. Through every single one of those roles, one core identity has never changed. Trump is a negotiator, a deal maker, someone who does not just close deals but does the biggest deals possible. Whether you agree with him or not, this is how Trump defines himself. In his book with Robert Kiyosaki, Trump is explicit about this. He says it is no longer about the money for him, it is about the deal itself, the scale, the complexity, the win. And in The Art of the Deal, published in 1987, entire chapters are devoted to his negotiation philosophy. He did not just claim to be the best deal maker, he wrote an entire book on it, literally. And when he ran for president, what was the central argument he made? That America needed a deal maker in the White House. He took the same core identity that had defined him in business and entertainment and dropped it directly into politics. The message never changed, only the arena did. This is one of the most important branding lessons you can take from Trump. Your core identity should be able to survive every context you put it in. If your brand message only works in one room, it is not a brand, it is a position. A brand travels with you. It stays consistent regardless of what you're doing, who you're talking to, or what role you are playing. Decide what the one thing is that you stand for and make sure that team can be recognized, whether someone meets you at a conference, reads your LinkedIn, watches your YouTube, or hires you for a project. Here's a fact most people overlook when they talk about Trump and social media. Trump did not learn how to use media when Twitter came along. He had already mastered it decades before. By the 1980s, Trump had shows on television. He controlled the Miss Universe, Miss USA, and Miss Teen USA from the 1980s through to 2015. He made frequent celebrity appearances across every major network. And then came The Apprentice in 2004, which is arguably the single greatest piece of personal brand leverage any businessman has ever built. "You are fired" became a cultural phrase, and Trump became, in the minds of millions of Americans, the definition of business authority. So when Twitter arrived, Trump did not have to figure out how to build an audience. He already had one. He just moved it to a new platform and he dominated it. By 2012, he was already saying publicly, "I use Twitter to tell it like it is, without the fake media." He was not adapting to the platform. He was using it the same way he had used every other one, directly, provocatively, without a filter. And when Twitter suspended him, he did something that most people still do not fully appreciate. He launched his own platform, Truth Social, in 2022, without a PR campaign, without influencer partnerships, without begging anyone. He simply moved, and millions of his audience followed him there. That is not social media strategy. That is brand power. Now, here are 3 specific things to take from this. First, build platforms. The biggest personal brands do not just build themselves on existing platforms, they eventually build their own. Mr. Beast built Beast Games. Trump built Truth Social. Gary Vee built VFriends. At a certain point, owning the distribution becomes more important than renting it. Second, be platform specific first. Before Trump owned Truth Social, he was a Twitter person. Before Mr. Beast diversified, he was a YouTube person. They might seem to be everywhere, but the biggest names are usually masters of one platform first. They conquer one before they expand. If you are just starting out, this matters more than almost anything else. Third, own your audience. There are countless people who get deplatformed, and that is the end of their career because they built their entire following on someone else's infrastructure. Trump and Tate are 2 very different people, but they share one thing. When the platforms tried to erase them, they survived because they have built real direct connections with their audience that no algorithm could fully break. If you say something, a handful of people might care. If Trump says the same exact thing, 100 people are furious, 100 more are laughing, and 100 more are completely obsessed with what he just said. That gap is not about the content of what is being said. It is entirely about how it is being said. And Trump has spent decades mastering this. Take his use of nicknames: Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe, fake news. In probably the entire history of American political life, no president had ever done this publicly and consistently. And the reason it worked is not because it was smart or sophisticated. It is because it was entertaining. It was tribal. It gave his supporters something to laugh at and repeat. It created in-group identity, and that is a deeply powerful branding tool. But there is something even more important happening underneath the surface. Trump does not try to change your mind. Unlike Obama, who is one of the greatest orators alive and uses language to move people across emotional states, Trump does something different. He reads the emotional temperature of the room, locates where each group sits, and then deliberately amplifies what is already there. If you come in angry, you leave angrier. And if you come in excited, you leave more excited. If you already believe in him, you leave believing even more. He is not shifting positions, he is deepening them. That is why he rarely uses scripts. The scripted speech serves the speaker. The unscripted performance serves the audience's emotions. And Trump is always performing for the emotion, not the argument. The lesson for personal branding is this: most of us do not have groundbreaking new information to share. We are largely sharing common knowledge, and when you are working with common knowledge, the only competitive advantage you have is how you deliver it, the voice, the angle, the energy, the way you frame what everyone already knows in a way that makes it feel new. Trump does not say the smartest things, but he says familiar things in a way that hits you in the face. That skill is learnable, and if you are building a personal brand, it is non-negotiable. More than 50 years ago, Trump already knew exactly how he wanted to be perceived. The tailored suit, the long tie, the groomed hair. These were not fashion choices alone, they were brand decisions. Every single public appearance reinforced the same visual message: authority, luxury, power, and he has not deviated from that visual identity in decades. Then there is the gold. Trump's obsession with gold is both a personal aesthetic and a brand statement. His books have gold on the cover, his merchandise carries gold, his buildings, Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, his hotels are all built around the heavy gold interiors. And right now, the White House is being renovated to reflect what has become known as the Trump standard. What this tells you is that visual identity is not superficial. It is one of the most powerful tools in personal branding because it works before you say a single word. Before anyone reads your bio, watches your video, or hears you speak, they have already formed an impression based on what they see. How you look, what you wear, the colors you use, the environments you are photographed in, the quality of your visual output across every platform. All of it either builds or undermines the brand you are trying to create. Trump understood this at a time when most people had not even thought about it. Nobody tells the Trump story louder or better than Trump himself, and that is entirely deliberate. I have read several of Trump's books. Every single one of them, at its core, a piece of brand propaganda. That is not a criticism, it is an observation. They are built to glorify Trump, wrapped in the packaging of business advice and self-help. The lessons are real, but they are buried inside a relentless celebration of everything Trump has done, built, and won. Even his bankruptcies, which are a matter of public record, have been reframed in his narrative as stories of resilience, of a man who cannot be put down. The facts are the same. The framing is entirely different, and the framing is what most people remember. Everyone around Trump, from press teams to social media managers to the people in his orbit, is working to ensure that the Trump narrative is pushed consistently in every direction at all times. The brand is being actively managed and shaped to reflect his values, his message, and his identity. Nothing is left to chance. Now, calling something propaganda sounds alarming, but propaganda does not have to mean lies. Propaganda means messaging that is crafted to make people think and act in a specific way. Every major brand on earth runs on some version of this. Apple does not sell computers, it sells the idea that you are a certain kind of person if you use one. The lesson is simple. You are the author of your narrative. If you do not actively write it, someone else will, and they will not be as generous. Control the story, shape what people know about you, decide which parts of your journey get amplified, and make sure everything you put out consistently reflects the brand you are building. At the heart of everything Trump does is one thing: a standard. He calls it the gold standard, or more specifically, the Trump standard. And it is the invisible ruler against which every decision, every building, every deal, every show, every public appearing is measured. Everything has to meet it, and if it does not, it is out. "You're fired" is not just a catchphrase from a reality TV show, it is a Trump standard made public. He set expectations, he made them visible, he held people to them in front of millions of viewers, and every time someone was fired, the message was reinforced. There is a standard here, and it is high, and it is non-negotiable. This is consistent across everything he has ever built. And because it is consistent, because it has never wavered, because it shows up in everything it does, it has become one of the most recognizable personal brand signatures in the world. That is the final lesson, and it might be the most important one. Define your own standard, not Trump's standard, not someone else's idea of excellence, yours. Make it visible in everything you do. Make it non-negotiable and hold everything around you to it. For Trump, it is gold. For you, it might be the quality of thinking in every piece of content you produce, the level of honesty you bring to every video, the standard of work you deliver to every client. Whatever it is, make it clear, make it consistent, and never compromise on it. 7 elements, one man, one of the most studied and most misunderstood personal brands ever built. Early understanding of influence, consistent brand messaging, mastery of media and platforms, emotional and linguistic control, visual identity, narrative ownership, and an unbreakable standard. You do not have to agree with Trump's politics. You do not have to like him, but if you're building a personal brand, you owe it to yourself to study what he built and understand why it works, because the principles behind it are not political, they are universal. Subscribe and follow for weekly deep dives into the personal brands that are winning and exactly what you can take from them to build your own. The link to work with my agency is in the description. See you in the next one.